Hello, boys and girls. Greg from the Scary Spirits podcast here to make you another cocktail. This week's cocktail is the Phantom Potion. And as always, is the featured cocktail in today's episode. We're going to start our shaker with ice. To that, we're going to add, the recipe calls for 8 ounces of lemon lime Kool-Aid. I'm going to use lemon lime Gator Light Zero because I'm super healthy. 8 ounces. 4. 8. Next, 2 ounces of triple sec. I am using Cointreau orange liqueur, which is what triple sec is. Next, 2 ounces of vodka. Then we shake. Then we're going to strain it into our glass with some ice. Recipe calls for a lemon slice for garnish. I don't have any lemons. Yeah, it's pretty good. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoy the podcast. See ya.
This week on the Scary Spirits podcast, Greg gets to check another Hammer film off his viewing list, Phantom of the Opera. I understand that this movie is considered to be in the horror genre, but this interpretation seems much more like a drama to me. It's interesting that multiple people can read the same story and be inspired to write such different interpretations. On this podcast, Greg and I often have different opinions of the same movie. I suppose that's why we include a cocktail, because we know we can definitely agree on enjoying adult beverages. Cheers!
Welcome to the Scary Spirits podcast. Please be advised that the presenters may use adult language and/or discuss adult situations. This podcast is not intended for younger listeners or those that may be easily offended. So, if you're ready, let's go.
Hello, boys and girls. I'm Greg.
Hi, I'm Karen.
And welcome to the Scary Spirits podcast, the podcast that combines the two very different yet highly compatible worlds of scary films and alcoholic spirits.
What could possibly go wrong?
Indeed. How are you, Karen?
I'm feeling pretty good. How are you, Greg?
I'm good. Thank you for asking.
I thought you would say like you were proud or you were full of yourself or something.
No, I'm good.
Smashing goals and kicking ass.
Well, that's what goals are for, is to smash.
We did a 5K. Greg killed it. First in his age group.
Yeah. I won a tumbler.
And beat my 88-year-old father.
For the first time. Been doing this for years.
Finally.
And I crushed him by like 2 minutes too. But I felt bad afterwards.
Yeah. He was proud of you, Greg.
Well, I'm proud of him. Shit. I probably won't be walking when I'm 88 years old. Period.
I certainly won't be beating younger people. They'll be pushing me.
And I still did get beat by a couple people within age groups older than mine. So, whatever.
Well, those are new goals. Take the win. You smashed a goal and you won your age group. Be proud of yourself. I'm proud of you.
Thank you, Karen.
I know how much that means to you.
Moving on. Was this film my choice, Karen?
It was.
Oh, let me see. What was it? Oh, chosen a Hammer film, Karen, from 1962 called The Phantom of the Opera.
Why did you choose that one? Besides, it's a Hammer film.
Well, besides it's a Hammer film, and I'm working through them. This episode goes live on June 26th. Phantom of the Opera was released on June 25th in 1962.
Nice. You always have that good connection. Do you have a drink to go with it?
That tells me that was 62 years ago, Karen, according to my Milford math. I do have a drink, Karen. It is called the Phantom Potion.
Ooh. How would you make such a thing?
We're going to need 8 ounces of lemon lime Kool-Aid, 2 ounces of triple sec, 2 ounces of vodka, and if you're fancy, a lemon slice for garnish.
Guess what? I'm fancy today.
You are fancy. You're always fancy, Karen.
No, I don't always do the fancy thing, but today I'm fancy. Lemon slice is done.
Well, didn't the other day you just texted me that you were out having brunch with your kids and you said, ooh,
I was
fancy.
out for brunch with my sons. Fancy. Well, that shows you how fancy I'm not, that if I think out to brunch is fancy.
Basically, we're going to combine all the ingredients in a shaker with ice, shake well, strain into a glass with ice, and then garnish with a lemon slice. And I found this on the Newfoundland Symphony Orchestra YouTube page. Apparently, there's a restaurant right next door to them called Piatto Pizzeria and Enoteca. I don't know. And apparently, they make themed drinks for what's playing at the symphony. And I guess they did this when they were playing Phantom of the Opera.
Well, one would hope.
I didn't have lemon lime Kool-Aid, Karen, and plus I'm super healthy, so I use Gator Light, Electrolyte Zero, or something like that. I don't know. It's like a Gatorade with lots of electrolytes and no sugar.
No sugar.
Lemon lime flavored.
Nice.
What did you use,
passion
Karen?
fruit bubble tea.
Yeah, so
I'm not
it's
still good.
With bubble tea, so I don't know if that's healthy or not.
I don't know. My son brought it home, so I said, ooh, that's the perfect color. Let me have some of that.
All right. Should we give our friends and listeners time to make their own Phantom Potion? It is a lovely lime greenish color. Probably even
I think
more
if you use Kool-Aid, it'd be greener.
Kool-Aid, probably like more like ectoplasm or something.
Yes. That neon kind of lime green. Yes, absolutely. Let's do it.
Hold on. And we're back. All right, Karen, might you have a brief synopsis of this film for us?
I do.
Go on. Tell us all the story.
Composer Lord Ambrose Darcy and his backer, Harry Hunter, struggle to find a replacement for the female lead in their new opera after she quits in the wake of a gruesome murder. When a new prospect, the nubile Christine Charles, disappears, Harry cautiously investigates. Meanwhile, a mysterious masked man who is eerily familiar with the opera holds Christine captive and offers to groom her to play the part.
We are a match, Karen. I like that word, nubile. Nubile.
I bet you do.
What does that mean? Do you know the definition of nubile?
Who doesn't?
I don't.
Young.
Oh,
I think.
Is that what it means?
Young and innocent.
Let's see. Let's see what Google says. of a young woman sexually attractive.
Usually means young and
And
innocent.
number
Like,
two is of a young woman sexually mature, old enough for marriage.
hmm,
So there you go, boys and girls. More education for your dollar.
for your penny.
Yes, for your tenth of a penny if you listen to the ads.
Right.
All right, Karen, tell us everything you really enjoyed about this film from 1962. Not the first Phantom of the Opera version we've seen. So, how does it
It's
compare?
Well, I liked the first one we saw. I think that was 1925, was it?
The
I
Lon
could be
Chaney
wrong,
one,
but
probably the silent one.
yeah, I like that one better. But this one's very good, I thought. As usual, it's Hammer, so the sets are amazing. Costumes look good. Acting was good. I thought everyone was good. I like the makeup on the Phantom with and without the mask. I thought both were effective. I was really impressed with the lip syncing that the nubile Christine was doing. I thought she looked like she was singing.
Are you sure she was lip syncing, Karen?
I'm pretty sure. I don't know if she.
Yes, yes, she was.
Oh, okay. I'm not
Patricia
100% sure,
Clark
but
provided the soprano voice, but she is not credited.
I thought the lip syncing was good. Story is good. I've not read the original, so I don't know which one was closer to.
They're both very different.
Yeah, that's why so I don't know. I liked this that there's a different villain than the Phantom. The Phantom's not a villain in this. You actually have empathy for him, and so I'm not sure which story was closer to the original writing because I haven't read it, so I don't know. But it's interesting in the way that it is different. It's not what I was expecting. I think that's all I have. What do you got?
Well, like you said, Karen, it's a Hammer film. So the sets and wardrobe is going to be good. I agree about the Phantom's makeup. Not so much without the mask, but with the mask. I really liked him with the mask. Without the mask, I was like, all right, whatever. You know,
You only see it for a little bit, and I thought it was pretty good.
acting was good. I like there was good lip syncing, and I kind of liked how much of the opera we actually saw.
Oh, really?
But I have more to say about that later.
Interesting.
Story was, I don't know. I do like the older one better. I like the Phantom as the villain, right?
Yeah, but it's interesting that it's different. It's not just the same thing over and over and over when we watch these.
True. Yeah, I think that's all I have. Anything you didn't like, Karen?
I didn't like how much of the opera they put in there. It's fine. It's interesting that you did, and I wonder if it's because you're a music major or something.
Well,
But
I just think
it seemed,
it just seems like it seems like you almost have to write two movies. You know what I mean? You have to write an opera and a movie script that includes that opera, you know? So I kind of given them credit for that, right? Because
okay,
I'm
I can
sure
see that. But I thought it
this
just
isn't a
kind of
real
brought
opera,
everything to
probably.
a screeching halt every time that was.
It wasn't very good opera, but I liked how much we saw of it, if that makes
I
sense.
thought it should have been much smaller snippets of it, enough to let us know it's an opera. But there was one scene that I didn't mention that I really liked that was in the opera, and the opera is about Joan of Arc, and she does get burned at the stake. And there was that cool scene where they
Yeah, where
open
she
the
walked.
door
Yeah,
and there's the
that was
flames.
nice. That was a nice
That
effect.
was an awesome shot. And if they had put a little singing in there, I thought that would have been okay.
You know, when that scene came out,
I
I'm like, well, that's an inventive way of
I know. I was impressed with that. I have a
burning
note,
her
but
at
I
the
just forgot to
stake.
mention it. Other than that, I don't really have anything bad to say about it. Just the little, I thought it was just went on a little too long. Again, I almost wish I had read it so I could tell which one was. There's an assistant in this one. I don't know if that's should be there or shouldn't be there. But he's the one who does all the dirty work. I don't really have anything else to say. I really liked it. I thought it was good. Do anything you didn't like?
Well, since you mentioned the assistant, I could have done without him.
The other thing I didn't really like is it's not a horror film.
No,
It's
it's
a
not.
drama.
It is.
If they had focused more on, like, if someone had burned him, but he kind of did it himself. So it's not even a horror film in that he was mutilated by someone who you then profited off of that. It doesn't even have that in it. It's just an
No, he
unfortunate.
kind of did. That kind of happened.
Yeah, but not the horror part. That's drama. The horror part is his disfigurement, which he did himself accidentally. And the assistant is the one who kills people, but those weren't even necessary.
Yeah, I would prefer there be no. He's credited as the dwarf. I called him a hunchback throughout the whole thing because he kind of looks like a little hunchback dude. But
Yeah,
yeah,
he
he
does.
was he was the bad guy, really. Well, not really, but he's not the only bad guy, but he's the one who does all the dirty work. I would have preferred the Phantom do his own dirty work. But
right.
whatever.
I agree. But that's what makes this not a horror film and more of a drama with some murders in it, which are peripheral to the story. But it's a good movie. I don't think I'd call it it's stretching horror.
I agree.
It's my opinion. Anything you didn't like beyond that?
Well, I said that I liked there was a lot of the opera in it, but what I didn't like was that there was too much of the opera in it. There was only one point where I'm like, okay, we've gone on a little long now. And I think it's the part leading up to her going to be burned, but her being burned was awesome. They didn't have to stretch it out that long, I think.
Yeah, there's a couple of times. I think it's in there at least three times, and it could have been shorter every time.
And I want to know what happened to Darcy. Stuff just hanging. He just like runs away. What happened?
Yeah, it's true.
I guess that means there's sequel potential.
Yes, there you go.
Maybe
He can
Darcy
do it
will
again.
come back and get his revenge. And I wasn't crazy about the Phantom's makeup when he didn't have his mask on, but you don't see it that much, and it's fine.
I thought it was okay.
It was probably pretty good for 62, but
for the amount of time it's on screen, you can't really spend a lot of money on it.
That's true, probably.
It's like a second.
Yeah.
Of course, that's maybe why it's on screen for a second. I don't know, but
could be.
I thought it was gruesome enough. The other thing I will say, I have another thing here that it's not that I didn't like it, but I thought the lead actors, Harry and Christine, were good. I didn't think they had a real spark, like chemistry. They were good, but I didn't really feel like they had any spark between them. But that's pretty minor.
Yeah, I liked him. I did like him. I liked him better than her, probably.
A lot of the time she looked like she was wearing her wig backwards to me. I don't know what that hairstyle was, but it was funny.
I'm just reading a little synopsis of the plot summary of the novel. It's quite a bit different than both of them, I believe. So, yeah, I mean, I'm glad I watched it. Knocked another one off the Hammer list.
It's listed under Hammer Horror. Interesting. Okay.
And the movie poster says, "Out of the hellfire of horror, unimaginable, rises the figure of terror incarnate."
Wow.
The greatest thrill classic of all time, The Phantom of the Opera. They're really selling it. With a picture of the Phantom on a flaming chandelier falling to the ground.
Yeah. It's all in the spin.
Yep. All right. Anything else you didn't like? Want to comment on?
I don't think so. No, I think we covered it.
All right. What kind of cocktail rating do you want to give this film, Karen?
I think it's a 3.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
Yeah. I'm not mad.
I think it's a romantic drama.
It is.
I wouldn't place it in horror, but you do you, Hammer.
Right. All right. Would you like to hear a review from the time, Karen?
I would.
The review I have is from Variety, dated 12/31/61, as they all are.
Oh.
So you know it's short. First, I have to tell you, Karen, this has a 50% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes, a 6.4 out of 10 on IMDb. What do you think Google users thought, Karen?
76%.
85%.
That's way off.
Yep,
That's a big difference.
it is. Google users are always higher, though. Usually they are.
Yeah, but that's a lot higher than 50%,
Yeah, but 64% on IMDb.
I guess.
Those are your highbrow people, Karen, those IMDbs. All right, the review I have is from Variety, December 31st, 1961, as all Variety archived articles are, dated the New Year's Eve. And it's short, so I'll read the whole thing and probably doesn't reveal a lot, or probably reveals a lot, but probably doesn't give a much of opinion, because that's usually what Variety does. Herbert Lom somewhat precariously follows in the macabre footsteps of Lon Chaney and Claude Rains, switched to a London Opera House background, lushed up in color with a new character, a dwarf rather confusingly brought in to supplement the sinister activities of the Phantom. It still provides a fair measure of goose pimples to combat some potential unwanted yawks. I don't know what a yawk is, but whatever. Basically, the story remains the same. Baleful goings on backstage at the opera, which suggests that the place is invaded by evil spirits. The evil spirit is, of course, the Phantom, but he turns out to be a rather more sympathetic character than of old, and much of his malignance is now switched to a new character, the dwarf, played effectively by Ian Wilson. However, the atmosphere of brooding evil still works up to some effective highlights, with the terror of the heroine paramount, the bewilderment of the hero, and the eerie personality of the Phantom still motivating the action. Okay. Whatever. It is what it is. Are you ready to get into it scene by scene, Karen, and spoil it for everyone?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Spoilers, boys and girls. Turn off now if you haven't seen it.
No, listen to the end so we can get our penny.
Well, watch it and then come back and listen to us
Oh, okay.
talk about it.
Greg, they don't need more reasons. Don't tell them to turn us off.
Press pause. Or just turn the volume down and let it
later.
play. It's fine.
Yeah.
Phantom of the Opera, 1962. Did you watch this film on Amazon Prime, Karen?
That I did.
We have violence, frightening scenes, alcohol use, and smoking. I don't know if those flashed up on the film, but that's was in the description on Amazon Prime. Film opens, we have a little bit of credits.
Yes, wait a minute. We do not start in the woods with a carriage.
No, we don't.
It's
This
very
is a very
exciting.
unhammer like Hammer
Yes.
film, I think.
Yes. I agree.
There's no Hammer glamour, Karen.
No, and there's no opening scene in the woods with a carriage.
But it still has good sets and everything else.
It does.
This is directed by Terrence Fisher, who we've watched a lot of his films, a lot of his Hammer films. So whatever.
Is he trying something new?
Maybe. So we have a little bit of credits. Then we have what appears to be catacombs of an opera house, or maybe I said that because that's where they usually start in Phantom of the Opera films. And we see a man playing a pipe organ, another man watching, and disfigured hands playing the organ, and then a masked face. Just the eye, right? We're just like zoomed in on his one eye.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty effective.
It was. But I hadn't seen it before.
It's a nice close-up of a bloodshot eye.
Yeah, but I hadn't seen it before, so I wasn't sure if he was wearing a mask, right? And I'm like, well, wait a minute, that's terrible makeup because you can see like the seam around the eyes and all that.
Oh,
but it's a mask, so. But that wasn't clear at that point.
Yes.
And then we finished the credits.
But I have another question before. Wait, so I have another question before we go any further. There's a river running through this catacombs, as you call it, and he's playing an organ. Wouldn't that get like mildewy and moldy? And I mean, it's a dirty river running through there, and he's got a bed with. I just thought all I could see was mold.
Maybe
but wouldn't that affect the? A
Maybe he has
dehumidifier.
maybe he has a bathroom exhaust fan, Karen.
But wouldn't it affect the organ? Wouldn't you think? Water
Probably. Especially
seems
if
like a
it's like a
horrible thing to
traditional
be.
pipe organ and it's got bellows you have to pump, and that shit would probably rot the bellows.
And wood and yeah, the whole thing. I don't know. It just seemed very impractical to me. That's all I'm gonna say.
Okay. But we see a poster for an opera, right? And is it the Saint? I have Saint John. Is that the theater or is that?
I thought it was Saint Joan of Arc. That's the name of the.
Oh, it's the tragedy. Oh, maybe it is Saint Joan. Tragedy of Joan of Arc is what I have written. I've written Saint John, but maybe I meant Saint Joan.
So let's talk about Saint Joan of Arc.
Is
I
she a
did a
saint?
report on her in high school.
Is she a saint
She's a
though?
saint. She is.
All right.
Which is interesting because the church condemned her and burned her at the stake and then made her a saint. But I'll explain a little bit about that.
As they do, Karen.
She's a national heroine of France, Saint Joan of Arc. She was a peasant girl who, believing that she was acting under divine guidance, led the French army in momentous victory at Orleans in 1429 that repulsed an English attempt to conquer France during the Hundred Years' War.
Was the 100 Years' War 100 years?
I don't know. I don't. I thought we talked about that once before.
Did we? Okay.
So I was curious how successful she was. She was young. She was a young girl. But in 13 engagements, her troops were victorious 9 times. At least 30 different cities, towns, and villages just surrendered without a fight when she approached with her army. But then the problem started because she was an enemy leader in a protracted war who was captured by British soldiers. So she was captured by the British. She was French. She was tried and sentenced by the British Crown on charges of heresy, which was against the civil law. Without such charges, she would normally have been ransomed back to the French according to the customs of the day. But she was charged by a group of clerics who served as investigators and jurors. The British Crown naturally found a group of clerics who supported the British and who eventually voted to convict her for wearing pants. So St. Joan's execution was done. Yeah. Well, one of the reasons. She also heard voices.
Like they were Baptists. I'm sure they weren't Southern Baptists, Karen.
No, she kept claiming to hear voices, but the voices she heard told her to fight and kill and defeat the British. So she's now captured by Britain and being tried in the British court. So one of the reasons she was convicted was for wearing pants, but also because she was saying these voices were telling her to defeat the British. She was cleared of all heresy charges by a French tribunal, and the worldwide church later recognized her as a saint long after the 100 Years' War was only a memory, and after the British and French became allies.
So the British condemned her, but then the French said, well, wait a minute. Right? Is that what you're saying?
Well, everyone after that. Because, so here's what, as an aside, the Office of the Inquisition in general was created to try to get control of this wild use of heresy charges by local rulers and mobs as license to kill people they didn't like. So the Pope tried to extend the Papal Inquisition so that truly independent clerics would serve as jurors and help protect people from partisan secular rulers crying heresy or witchcraft against their enemies.
Clerics? What's a cleric, Karen?
A ruler in the church.
Oh, so the Pope made it so that clerics would be the jury, right? That's what you're telling me?
Independent.
Instead of a jury of their peers, there was a bunch of clerics.
No, it was a group of clerics.
You're being tried for heresy. And you got a bunch of clerics judging you.
Yes. But okay. you could stack the jury. So you would just get a bunch of people. If you're French and you're saying you're hearing voices telling you to kill the British, and then you get a bunch of British clerics as your jury, you're going to get convicted. Because so after this happened, they changed it. So they try to get it so that you can't just put all your friends who you want to convict someone, convict them.
Okay.
But yeah, she wore pants.
Karen, the 100 Years' War lasted 116 years, apparently.
Yeah, I thought it was longer than that. Yeah.
All right. So then we see a woman warming up her voice. And we see a guy in the percussion section discovers his timpani has a broken head.
What are you going to do?
Replace it.
So we see little things are happening.
And then a man enters the woman's dressing room.
So she was spraying stuff. She was spraying stuff into her mouth. Is that just water, or what is she spraying into her mouth when she's warming up?
If I had to guess, I'd say like lemon juice, lemon water, something like that.
What does lemon do?
That's supposed to help your voice. I don't know.
All right.
Well, we're both drinking lemon lime. Does our voice sound better today, boys and girls? All right. Man enters her dressing room and turns down the lamp. And then there's a cymbal crash, which I thought was pretty effective. The music is very good in this. I didn't mention it, but it's an opera. Music's good. Vocal lines, not so much that I could understand.
But it's a phantom in her room, right?
Yeah. Well, we see his hand. That's all we see. I think he's wearing
but it's the crusty looking hand.
Fancy pirate shirts with ruffles on the sleeves. But anyway, I guess her name is Maria.
It scares her.
Yeah, and she tells Harry, who is Harry Hunter, he's like the producer or something, right?
Yes.
Before
that happens, there is a funny line though, because she's obviously a diva. She's an opera diva, and her assistant is bringing in all kinds of flowers, and she brings in some flowers, and Maria says, "What? That's it?" Because it's just flowers. She said, "Last time there were diamonds with them. Put them over there." I thought that was funny.
So she tells Harry, who's the producer or whatever, about seeing the man. And she says he has one eye in the middle of his forehead. Harry convinces her to relax, just relax and rest before she has to go on. But then we see the conductor getting ready, and he is missing his music. But the show must go on, Karen, and he begins conducting anyway.
Okay, so stop for a minute. So she's pretty freaked out by it. He calms her down, and yes, the conductor's in this a fair amount for multiple reasons. But I looked up, what qualifications do you need to be a conductor? Employers generally prefer candidates with a master's degree in music theory, music composition, or conducting. There's an actual degree in conducting.
Well, duh.
I didn't know that. So for positions as a conductor, a bachelor's degree typically is required for those who want to work as choir directors. So then I was curious how much conductors make. So do you want to know who the highest earning conductor is?
Currently?
Yes.
Sure.
Well, I'm close enough to currently. Riccardo Muti at the Chicago Symphony. Take a guess.
You're guessing, though. This is like old data, maybe? I'm going to say...
It's fairly recent.
I'm going to say $250,000.
Ricardo at the Chicago Symphony makes $3,420,804 a year.
Chicago Symphony must have lots of patrons and contributors.
Gustavo Dudamel at Los Angeles Philharmonic makes $2.8 million. Michael Tilson Thomas, who I've actually heard of, and I couldn't figure out, I'm like, I haven't heard that name because it's the San Francisco Symphony. He makes $2.1 million. If you can get to the top, you can make some cash.
Yeah, you can call yourself Maestro. Maestro.
Is this your first time listening to the Scary Spirits podcast? Or maybe you're a regular listener, but missed a few along the way. No worries. Not only can you find every episode on our website, scaryspirits.com, but you'll also get to enjoy awesome show notes too. I just want to say we really appreciate your support. Now let's get back to the show.
So then Lord Darcy, who apparently wrote this opera, we're told, enters fashionably late on purpose because he's being fashionably late.
Yes, so the opera has started. It's a full house.
And everyone turns as he walks in and applauds. And then Lord Darcy is sitting in his box and he's wondering, I thought you said this was a sellout. He's told by, I don't know, the other guy, yeah, it is. And he's like, well, how come box number 5 is empty? And the guy tells him it's haunted. And he gets upset that it's not a full house.
And right before he walks in, Harry is bad-mouthing him. So you know that they have some animosity, those two.
And Lord Darcy is played by Michael Gough, right? Is that how you say his name? J-O-U.
Yeah, who reminds me of Donald Sutherland.
A little bit.
Got that same kind of look. Little bit.
He's handsomer than
That's
Donald
who I
Sutherland.
kept seeing. I don't know what Donald Sutherland looked like when he was young because I've only seen him.
But we've seen Michael Goff in a few films now, including Hell House.
A few Hammer films?
Maybe.
Oh, that's not a Hammer.
No, but that's not one, but he may have been in another Hammer film.
But yeah, he's all annoyed. Why is that box empty? Well, it's haunted. He thinks that's just ridiculous. We do see a piece of the opera, and there is a Burgermeister.
Is there?
Yeah.
So he was in The Horror of Dracula, we've seen. Phantom of the Opera, just going over films we've seen. Hell House, Legend of Hell House, right? I think that's it. Yep. I think that's all we've seen him in. But it looks like he's in several other horror films. There's still time, Karen. I might do a Michael Goff month.
Excellent.
We'll see. So then we see a man up on the catwalk watching the opera. I think it's the dwarf, whatever, hunchback. Maria arrives.
They call him a dwarf, but he's not a dwarf.
Yeah, he's pretty big. Maria arrives for her scene, and conductor turns his music, and it is torn in two. And then the next thing I have is there's a man in the box peeping. He's peeping in on a box, maybe where Darcy is sitting. I don't know.
What's the empty? Oh, I thought it was the empty box.
Could be.
And we see the eyeball again.
Yeah. And then a different man hanging from a noose cuts through the scenery to the side and comes swinging towards Maria. And of course, the opera is postponed indefinitely after that, Karen.
Yes. That never bodes well.
No, it's never explained. I don't know. Did he hang himself? Was he hung? Who knows?
Well, at some point somebody claims it was suicide. They mention it, but nobody thinks it was suicide.
So then Maria refuses to perform. Producer Harry conducts auditions.
Well, and Darcy is the composer in quotations, is beside himself, how embarrassed he is by this whole thing, and how his work will never recover.
And Christine Charles gets the part. And Lord Darcy sends her a note. He invites her to dinner.
Well, yeah, because Harry's doing the auditions and Darcy comes in all annoyed that he wasn't included on the auditions. And then we do see the Phantom somehow watching, and everybody's impressed. She has the voice of an angel, and she's pretty.
All right.
Well, they think she's pretty.
So then we see Christine in dressing room with the other chorus girls, because that's what she is. She's a chorus girl. And they offer to give her money so she can buy something nice to wear to dinner with.
Yes.
Lord
you can't
Darcy.
go to dinner and not have something nice.
Then Christine's alone in the dressing room, and we hear a voice talking to her. Voice tells her he will teach her to sing better, and warns her that Lord Darcy is a vile and vicious man, Karen. If I had a nickel for every time I heard that.
No, if I had a nickel every time someone warned me that you were a vile and vicious man. Get it straight here.
So Christine meets Darcy for dinner. Lord Darcy offers to teach Christine. And I wrote, he's very creepy, Karen. He wants to give her private lessons in his apartment.
He knows he can teach her things. And he's looking like he wants to teach her lots of things.
Harry arrives, says Lord Darcy and Christine are leaving. Christine asks Harry to go to Lord Darcy's apartment with her. Lord Darcy no longer wants to train her. Harry asks Christine to join him for dinner. I get that.
Yeah,
right,
so
mostly.
She's timid through the whole dinner. He's kind of overpowering her. He's telling her
she's young and nubile, Karen.
Yes, she is impressionable, but she knows what's going on. But he basically threatens her. Do you want to be in this opera or not? If you do, then you have to come with me so I can teach you things. And as they're walking out, Harry is sitting, he had come in for dinner. And she goes back to him and says, Darcy's going to teach me things. Would you like to come and be there as part of the, teaching, training?
With her eyes
yes.
saying,
and
please,
then Darcy,
please come
please,
with me.
please don't send me off with this man alone. And Harry, who doesn't like Darcy, of course, jumps on that opportunity because he wants to spoil his plans. And then he invites her to dinner because she didn't eat because she was so nervous.
So then we see Harry and Christine in a carriage going home. Harry talks about something evil in the theater, someone trying to stop the opera. Christine tells him about the voice she heard in her dressing room.
Yeah, there's been a lot of bad luck around this opera.
She agrees to go to the opera house that night to investigate. And they arrive, and the cleaning ladies are there, and I guess they're comic relief. Harry gets rid of them by saying he lost a diamond brooch in the auditorium. So they are, we'll go look for it.
Yes, because they're complaining when they open the door about there's nothing of value. Usually, I guess when they're cleaning up, they're hoping to find valuables, and they didn't find anything.
Then we see Harry and Christine in her dressing room. They try to determine where the voice came from that she heard, and then the voice talks to them. The voice warns Harry to stop meddling and tells him to leave.
It does not concern you.
So then we hear screams coming from the cleaning ladies, and they run out because apparently the rat catcher is there, and he tells them all about how he catches the rats.
He got some good ones. They're big fat rats. They can make an excellent pie. And then Harry says they're vegetarians.
Yeah, he tells them that. And then we see the man, I'm sure it's the dwarf, watching the rat catcher as he leaves. The dwarf pulls a dagger and stabs him right in the eye. Rats escape from his bag. Christine
Yeah, I
and
thought
Harry
I
see
said
them.
Greg's not going to like that.
It wasn't graphic enough to bother me. Harry picks up Christine and carries her out. Harry leaves.
So they know something happened. Sorry.
Yeah. Harry leaves. Christine sees the Phantom. Phantom says to her, "Young woman, you must come with me." Christine screams and faints. Harry comes running.
She almost looks like she was about to go with him, though.
Harry comes running.
It's a very small table she faints on.
And he comforts her. So then Christine recounts her interaction with the Phantom to Harry. Says he was wearing a mask with one eye. And then I wrote, Harry and Christine make a connection? ? Isn't like one of those, our lips are so close.
We're looking into each other's eyes.
Then we see Lord Darcy conducting more auditions, and he seems to be interested in the redhead, Karen.
The one who's showing off her assets.
She doesn't look as nubile to me.
No, she doesn't. But she looks a little more willing.
So then Harry arrives. Lord Darcy tells him that Christine has been dismissed, and he is as well. Good day. Harry goes to see Christine, and Harry invites Christine to lunch.
She's reading the note that she's been fired.
And he invites her to lunch
to celebrate them both being fired. Yeah. He gives her 10 minutes to get ready. So while she's getting ready, he looks around the apartment. I think it's a boarding house, so it might be the living room of the boarding house.
Yeah, he plays a music box and looks at a moving picture thing. He notices some sheet music on a dressing screen is what I called it, right? Is that what that screen's called?
That's what I called it, yeah.
He asks the landlady where she found it, and she said it was in Professor Petrie's things. He used to be a tenant. He asks her to see more of the music. She gives him some, and he plays it on the piano.
Yeah, is that sight music? He's never seen it before.
He's sight reading.
Yeah.
Sight reading.
How hard is that, Greg?
Well, it depends. I was very good at it. Maybe not on piano, but on my principal instrument, I was very good. Landlady says the professor was killed in a fire. She tells him the printing house where the fire occurred, and he was killed. Tells him where it happened, basically. Then we see Harry and Christine at the printers, and he is told there that no one died in the fire. A man was badly burned, but he did not die. He was actually scarred with nitric acid, and he has not been seen since. Dr. Karen.
Yeah, so I know. Nitric acid is a colorless liquid with yellow or red fumes and an acrid odor. Exposure to nitric acid can cause irritation to the eyes, skins, and mucous membrane. It also can cause delayed pulmonary edema, bronchitis, and dental erosion. It is highly corrosive. It can produce severe burns, ulceration, scarring, dermatitis, and yellow staining of the skin. It not only on the surface, so it'll burn you on your skin, but it's the vapors. The vapors are toxic. That's why you can get it in. Once you get it in your lungs or eyes, you're in trouble. I don't know what it's used for in printing. I didn't look that up.
Then we see Harry and Christine at the police asking about the fire, asking about the man badly burned. The man ran out of the printer and jumped into the river, he is told.
Which seems like the worst thing to do. If you've got ulcerated skin, you're not going to jump into the bacteria infested river.
Well, if you're on fucking fire, you would. If you feel like your skin was burning. I was trying to figure
that out, and I didn't. But if you jump in the water when you're on fire, I read somewhere the steam can kill you, because I don't know what happens. It's better to put it out with blankets than to jump in the water.
Just jump in the water. That's my point.
No, I know, but I'm telling you, those rivers were gross, especially back in the day.
Yeah,
I wouldn't
throw out your dead. All the sewage drains right into the river.
Yeah, you're jumping in there with open wounds.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I get it.
But the whole time they're doing this, Harry has a plan. He's trying to figure things out. Christine doesn't know what's happening. She keeps saying, who's the man? Who's the mystery man? I'll tell you at lunch. I'll tell you later. He never really tells her what's going on. But basically, they spend the day together.
And then they kissy face in the cab. Yeah.
Yes, they do.
Did you recognize the cab driver?
No, I did not.
We've seen him several times as well.
Is he always a driver?
Nope. He was in Scrooge. Played old Joe in Scrooge, the guy who collects all the Scrooge's belongings that the housekeeper and the undertaker bring, give him money for his stuff. He was in Dracula, the Hammer Dracula, as an undertaker. He's in the Brides of Dracula as the doctor. Remember the doctor who kept wanting to be paid? In the Brides of Dracula, that was him.
Yes.
And Phantom of the Opera. And he's been in some other things too, which we may get to. He's also a screenwriter. So, name is Miles Maelson. Maelson died in 1969 at age 90 or 80. Sorry. So then Harry kind of figures out he believes that someone else wrote Lord Darcy's opera. He's starting to put the pieces together here, Karen.
Yeah, because in the beginning he says he doesn't understand how someone with he doesn't say musical taste, but without music ability could write such a great opera. That's what he's bad-mouthing about when Lord Darcy goes in late into the opera. He can tell he has no musicality or something, and he can't understand from the beginning how he wrote this opera. And now he's starting to piece together that maybe he didn't write it.
Christine arrives back at her room in the boarding house. She opens the window and finds the dwarf there. He carries her to the catacombs of the opera house. If he's really a dwarf, how is he going to carry a grown-ass woman, Karen? All right, whatever.
I don't know, and I'll tell you this.
Through a secret door behind the furnace.
And she stays out for a while. But then he drags her through like the river across the water. You know how hard it is to lift? I was like, he cannot lift. A grown man it's hard to lift a heavy, wet, because it's a soaking wet person out of the water. But he doesn't. He rolls her up on the side. Because I'm like, he's not going to be able to if he walked out of that water, I was going to be impressed. But he's not. He's a normal sized person. He's just hunchbacked.
Then we see the Phantom playing the organ. Do you know what he's playing, Karen?
I do not.
He's playing Johann Sebastian Bach's Toccata and Fugue in D minor.
Is that hard?
It is possibly the most famous organ music ever written.
And I still didn't know it.
Did you recognize it? It's that, da-da-da! It's that famous haunted house music organ.
Yes.
Organ music. That's Toccata and Fugue in D minor.
Oh, I'll impress somebody someday with that.
Yeah.
Bach. That was a MASH thing. When Radar was going on a date, they just told him to say, Bach, when he was talking about. Anyway, doesn't matter.
So then Phantom motions for Christine to come to him, I guess, when she comes to. And he tells her he is going to teach her to sing. He will make her a star.
You only sing for me. He likes to say that a lot.
Yeah. And Lord Darcy, cut to him watching rehearsal with the new girl. And then he fires the director and the entire orchestra.
He fires everybody.
Their director's too critical, or the conductor, I'm sorry, is too critical of the new girl, the big busty redhead.
Well, he says, watch for my clue. I'll tell you, watch for my signal. And then Darcy gets all mad and fires everybody, which was kind of funny.
So then the manager of the opera house tells Darcy that he thinks he should ask Harry to come back. Harry enters and they have a brandy.
Yeah, because Darcy's like, what can I do? What can I do? Everything's a mess.
I fired everyone. Now what do I do?
Yes.
And they
fix
have
it for me.
They have a brandy to celebrate because brandy fixes everything. So then he finds out Christine is missing. He goes to see the landlady. He asks the landlady that when she returns to have her come to the theater. Cut to the Phantom teaching Christine. Then he gets a little rough with her, I wrote, Karen.
Yeah, he slaps her.
Yeah, you get a little rough with her.
You can't become a great singer without suffering. She's singing to exhaustion, I think, is what we're supposed to think. Over and over and over again.
Do it again. Then we see Harry looking around the opera house. Back to the Phantom teaching Christine. And then we see Harry talking to a cop about the man who jumped into the river after the printing house fire. Cop believes he died. Harry walks down to the edge of the river and hears Christine singing. And then off to the side, he sees a boat, a rowboat. How convenient. Then Christine collapses from exhaustion. Phantom throws water on her face and continues to train her. Harry gets in the boat and makes his way to an opening in the river, like a barred up storm drain or some shit. I don't know.
But it's only halfway barred. He goes right under it.
And I guess Christine passed out and
from exhaustion.
Yeah, the Phantom plays the organ as the hunchback carries Christine to a bed down there in the catacombs.
Which isn't far from the organ.
Nope.
It's all basically one room.
So then the dwarf gets a breathing tube and goes under the water.
Because he hears a noise. He hears splashing.
Watches Harry entering the catacombs. He jumps up behind Harry with a knife. They fight. Harry knocks the dagger from his hand. Harry arrives and confronts the Phantom. He asks the Phantom if the opera was composed by him. He says it is. He took it to Darcy to help him get it published. Then we have flashback. We see Professor Petrie, I don't remember, selling all of his music to Lord Darcy to get it published. He thinks Darcy's going to help him get it published, but Darcy is actually buying the music from him and taking ownership, which he doesn't understand.
Yes.
And we see Darcy
scratches out his name
and puts himself as the composer. And then we cut to the printer shop, and Petrie sees the music being printed with Lord Darcy as the composer, and he confronts Darcy. Darcy explains that he bought the music from him and he now owns it. Period. They fight. Darcy hits him with his cane and drives off in his carriage. So then we see Petrie at the printers again. He breaks in the middle of the night. He throws all the music he can find, basically, it looked like, into a furnace.
He started off with like one sheet. I was like, you're going to have to do better than that. And then he starts picking up more.
But then he takes the plates that they used to print the music with and he breaks them too. That was a good move.
Yeah, that was smart.
And then he spreads flammable liquid around the printer shop. Fire advances, and then he throws what he, I think, believes is water on the fire. But apparently it's not water. It must be the acid, I wrote. Cop arrives and sees Petrie jump into the river holding his face. He was swept to the underground drain by the current, and there he is rescued by the dwarf.
Yes, so he burns the printing shop down. He's trying to put liquid all over, but as he's doing that, one of the sheets comes out of the furnace and catches the ground on fire. faster than
Well, the fire's already
Harry.
started, and he's spreading flammable liquid. The fumes are going to like make it spread, probably, regardless.
But we see one piece of the music fall onto
Not
the
that I
floor,
know
and
anything
that's
about,
what's
lighting fires or anything. It's flammable liquid.
of course
That's
not.
that's what I hear.
But that's why that's why we believe it all went up quicker than he wanted it to.
Then the Phantom implores for Harry to allow him to continue teaching Christine. He begs Harry. Darcy arrives at the opera house and finds the Phantom. He rips the Phantom's mask off and runs away. And as I said, that's the last we see of Darcy. What the hell? He gone. I don't know.
Runs off into the night.
Never to do anything bad again. Christine walks on the stage and sings as the Phantom watches. And all the patrons as well.
Yeah, and he's in the box and he motions to her to sing from her heart. He touches his heart because that's what he told her she was supposed to do when they were in the catacombs.
And here's where we learn a little about Joan of Arc through the opera. Probably too much. This is the part where it's a little long. I wrote she was excommunicated and declared a heretic.
And a witch.
And we see the dwarf up on the catwalk above Christine as she sings. Phantom is moved to tears as he watches. Dwarf is discovered and is chased, and the curtain comes down. Dwarf jumps on the chandelier. The boat rope begins to break. Phantom jumps to the stage and pushes her out of the way.
It's going to fall on Christine, but he pushes her out of the way and takes the hit.
And the chandelier falls down on him. He gone. Curtain comes down. Credits. The end. All right, Karen, what'd you think of the Phantom Potion? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, apparently that makes a double because I had to refill my glass. 8 ounces is a lot of lemon.
I halved it. I did half it because I thought it was a lot.
It makes 2 drinks. There's only 2 ounces of vodka in it, so if you half it,
a little bit of triple sec. Yeah,
you get a shot of vodka.
It's summery. It feels summery.
It does. Yeah.
Especially when you're fancy like I am. So
yeah, I like it.
When I'm on the lanai, I expect you to bring out my drink with a lemon wedge on the side of my glass.
Okay, Karen, I'll get right on that. I'll start investing in lemons.
I think you better get a lanai first. I'll worry about the lemons. You get the lanai.
True that. Hey, anything we learned today, Karen?
Well, we learned about Joan of Arc, nitric acid, how to become a conductor.
Yeah.
What the highest conductor makes. And I think we talked about this before, but the first opera was in 1597. It was a Greek drama called Daphne, which most people consider to be the first opera. I think we talked about this the first time we did Phantom of the Opera, but then what is considered the greatest opera ever written? And it's The Marriage of Figaro.
Oh, shit, I was going to say that.
1786, because the Bugs Bunny be my guess, right?
No.
That's how I know it.
Because I watched Amadeus back in the day.
I mean, I'm sure everyone has their opinion as to what
music major,
the best
Karen.
opera is, but that is considered by most people to be the greatest opera.
I would say Tommy.
See, that's what I mean. Everybody has a different opinion.
Then you got your Jesus Christ Superstar, but that's kind of a musical, I guess, not really an opera. So's Tommy. It's a rock opera, which is, I don't know, a musical. I did, talk about Johann Sebastian Bach and Toccata and Fugue in D minor.
You did. And we learned what nubile actually means.
Yeah, that's good.
I think you should work that into your
knowledge is power,
vocabulary.
Karen. The more you know, boys and girls. All right, are we ready to move on to next film, Karen? Breaking into July. I believe it's your choice, Karen.
It is.
Since I just did this one, I would assume it's yours, unless you're wanting me to do 2 in a row.
Well, you're allowing me to make a choice now, since you've already had one. And I have chosen from 2012 the movie The Bay.
Any reason you chose that film, Karen?
If you listen live, it will come out on July 3rd. And it does feature a 4th of July party, which is our Independence Day. So it takes place on the 4th of July.
Okay. Or as they call it across the pond, Trader's Day.
Yes. I said our Independence Day because we're huge in London, you know.
Yeah. Okay. Do we have a cocktail to go with that, Aaron?
We do.
What would that be?
It's called the Bay Breeze.
Oh, really stretching it there, Karen, aren't you? And how would one make such a concoction? Like, I've never heard of it before. Where did you find that?
Have you heard of it?
A Bay Breeze?
On all recipes. I've never heard of it. You know
All
it?
right. Yeah. Go on. Tell us how
You're
to
going to
make
need
one.
a cup of ice, 2 ounces of cranberry juice, 2 ounces of pineapple juice, 1.5 ounces of vodka, 1 lime wedge for garnish. Combine the ice and vodka in a highball glass, add the pineapple juice, add cranberry juice, garnish with a lime wedge, and enjoy. It's a variation of a Cape Codder. It's refreshing as any adult beverage this side of a mojito. It's as refreshing. So, yeah.
Okay. I look forward to having a Bay Breeze.
As do I.
All right. You know what the film The Bay is about? Any idea? Anything about it? You know anything about it? Or just
It's an
a 4th of July
environmental
thing, right?
It is a 4th of July thing, but it's a eco.
You always do
horror.
like an eco thing around the 4th of July.
I do. I don't know if we'll ever top frogs, but we'll see.
All right.
There was one that was a werewolf one around the 4th of July.
Silver bullet, but it's not
Silver
really.
bullet, yeah.
It's not really around the 4th of July.
It was supposed to be.
Anyone you need to thank this week, Karen?
I need to thank our listener because there are so many podcasts out there. Thanks for choosing us. What about you, Greg? Who do you need to thank?
Well, oddly enough, Karen, I need to thank the people of Dudley over there in the United Kingdom. Dudley. I don't know what that is. I assume it's like Dudley. It's a town in England. It's a market town in the West Midlands of England. Cool. 8 miles northwest of Birmingham, the home of Black Sabbath, Karen.
Nice.
Yeah, so thank you, people.
Is it a small town?
Dudley. I don't know. But we're very popular there, apparently. Especially if it's a small town.
Oh.
And I need to thank also the band Verse 13 for providing all the music in the Scary Spirits podcast.
The music definitely makes the podcast better.
Anything else, Karen?
Please drink responsibly.
Yes.
Thanks so much for listening. Want to keep in touch? Check out our website, scaryspirits.com. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Scary Spirits Podcast. Find us on YouTube at Scary Spirits Podcast. If you have questions or comments, you can email us at info@scaryspirits.com. To help us grow the podcast, you can leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. You know, we really do appreciate your support. And as always, please drink responsibly.